with transformation, because that's what my company is all about. It's all about transformation and healing from trauma, healing from domestic violence, or healing from some sort of abuse, into helping them find their voice, regain their power, and attract wealth and abundance in their lives. So, um, so my podcast is like all over the place now. It's all over, and I'm really, really super happy. So now I'm working with a business coach to launch my coaching program. So I'm working on that as well. And what I decided to do was really focus on cryptocurrency. You know, first of all, for those of you who are listening here and who don't know what I had no idea what cryptocurrency was. I was first introduced to cryptocurrency in 2019. So Bitcoin, and I knew about, I knew like what Bitcoin was all about. Bitcoin is a decentralized coin. So you have control, meaning, let's say I sent $30 to Gloria, and I sent that to her in Bitcoin through my Coinbase account. She would receive that in BTC. The bank doesn't control it. You have control. And there's no banking fees, there's no transfer fees. Um, so when I first learned about Bitcoin, in 2019, it was like, okay, I think I'm going to explore growing, growing my Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin. And at that time, I was working my full-time job. So while I was working my full-time job in sales, which was not really my passion anymore, because I was traveling 500 miles a week to different cities, and I would, I would drive to Buffalo, I would drive down to New York City, and then Massachusetts. But, I was selling advertising. And that was like most of my sales career. But, it was like I needed a change. I needed that change. So in December of 2000, so when I was introduced into this company, the company, you know, um, it's educational. So it's an educational platform. They have like two types of courses: the intro course, which is for the newbie, for someone who wants to learn about the blockchain, learn about what Bitcoin is all about and cryptocurrency and what wallets to have. And it can seem overwhelming, especially to the new person like myself, because I felt a little overwhelmed at first. But then as I started to dive in, into the courses, I said, you know what, this is something that I want to pursue. This is something that I want to do. And the it's important to learn like the basics and fundamentals of the course. So the first thing is education. Education is key. Um, I've learned that there's a lot of scams out there, because Kia, you were talking about that, and that's true. Because Bitcoin is rising so much, it's like this morning it was $59,000.
Hmm.
It was 59,000. But the problem, but there there are some scams out there that I know of. Unfortunately, some people I know decided to fall for it and have lost a lot of money. Have lost. I wouldn't say that they lost their life savings. I would say they've lost like $10,000.
That's still a lot of money
That's
It's a
still a
lot
lot
of
of money.
money.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
money,
to lose, to get
to
scammed out
lose.
of.
Just
Yeah.
to get scammed. I'm taking my sweater off because it's getting a little hot in here. I got my fireplace out going. But okay, so so I've had people come to me. I mean, people have come to me because they trust me. They've been following my journey. And so the first warning that I have to tell everyone right here, if you are in the US here, if a company tells you that you have to, because in the US there are regulations. So if you have to use a VPN, run the other way. Because what the VPN, I don't know if you're familiar with a VPN, but if you have to connect to a VPN, that means that essentially means that they hide your location. So people don't know where, yeah. And you
So
can get a
what?
big
So what?
trouble.
what are the BPM?
It's a VPN. It's a it's like an IP, so they hide your IP address.
And it's like so that no one knows where you are,
Correct.
where your location is when you're using
Correct.
your computer.
Correct.
Or your
Right.
phone or whatever.
Right, correct. It works on a phone and it works on a computer and a laptop. So, that's the first warning that I have, and it's been happening to a lot of people lately. So now they regret it, but it's lessons learned. It's lessons learned. You just have to be careful about, the company that you partner with. The second thing is never invest money you cannot afford to lose. So if you, right, never, see?
Yes.
Say it again, Angeline. Say it again.
Yes.
Say it one more time.
Never invest money you cannot afford to lose.
That goes for anything. Actually. Taking
for
a course,
everything.
taking, buying an expensive item for yourself. Just don't invest the money if you can't really afford it.
Exactly. I mean, it's okay to manifest it, but in terms of crypto, especially if you're a beginner in crypto, I started with $30. So, and I was actually, and also with crypto, it's all about mindset too. Actually, I was wanted to educate you here. 90% of this is mindset. It's having, it's the fear, because a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid they're going to lose money. Okay. But you have to expect that you're going to lose some money. You have to expect that. You have to expect that you will lose some money, but you will also make money too. Okay. So it's important that you get your, I call it ROI, as fast as possible. So, and another thing is to master the skills. And in other words, master the skills of trading, master the skills of investing. And if you just want to hold your Bitcoin, because there's 3 ways you can make money with Bitcoin. Number 1 is holding it. Number 2 is you can mine the Bitcoin, or you can trade. Okay. And fortunately,
before you go further, because you're moving really fast for beginners. Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
All right. So let's back up. Okay.
Yes.
So you said first, get your mind right. So recognize that there is risk involved here, but without great risk, there's no great reward. So you have to get your mind around the fact that if you invest money here, you will take an L. You will lose at some point, but there are also great gains. So you have to be prepared for that. Okay. That's number 2, besides not getting scammed. Okay. And watch out for anyone asking you to send them money and they have a VPN. Right. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
So, watch out for that. Educate yourself. Find out what the scams are with cryptocurrency. You can go online and just Google cryptocurrency scams 2021 and they'll come up. Okay. Exactly. Next, we need to know that there's 3 ways to invest. Let's talk about the first way a little bit. You said that was holding.
Right. Holding the Bitcoin. So
okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about holding. So let's say you have, I'm just going to put let's say you have $1,000 in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So you see it going, and you have to expect volatility. Okay.
Yes.
And you have to make volatility your friend, not your enemy. So you cannot get upset. In other words, don't get upset if the market goes down, because if the market goes down, do not sell.
Exactly.
Do not sell at a loss. Keep it. Hold it until it goes back up again. Because last year, I recall, I think Bitcoin was around like $9,000. And if you had held on to that Bitcoin, it would be worth, because now it's worth about $58,000. Now, I'm just going to average it out because it's kind of being volatile right now. You would have made a lot of money despite the losses.
So I have
yeah.
a question though.
Sure.
You said you can buy a coin. What is a coin?
Well, if you see Bitcoin, it's just, it's not tangible, but it's a decentralized coin. That's all I can, that's how they
So,
define
okay.
Bitcoin. It's a
So, so can I
So
ask a question to
sure,
just
sure.
see if I can make this make a little bit more sense? So, well, you said it's a decentralized tone, so a coin. So, what I think of it as a token, right? Like, so when you go to like Chuck E. Cheese or you go to like a festival
Right.
or a fair, and you get those gold coins and you can use them for the arcade or you can use them. You know what I mean?
Right. I know what you mean.
I think people should kind of think of these Bitcoins like those coins.
You're
So
right.
it's an
Actually,
imaginary
right.
coin and they each have a name, okay? And they each have a value. So when
Correct.
you buy one, so for example, you buy one Bitcoin, think of that like one of those little tokens that has a value attached to it. And the value goes
Right.
up or down, okay? So that's as basic as I can explain it for everybody. Right?
And actually, that's right. Think of it as a token.
Mhm.
Think of it as a token. Because a lot of people in the US, they don't understand what cryptocurrency is. And they don't teach this in schools.
Exactly.
Right.
And they probably won't for a long time because people that aren't in school anymore don't know what it is, and they don't even teach life skills, financial life skills in school. So imagine, maybe with economics at some point, but I think it's
Right.
going to be a long time coming. Angeline, what do you think?
I think so too. I think so too. I feel, and I've said this in other interviews that I've been on, that the US is behind the times because in Europe and South Africa, you can buy real estate. So let's say I wanted to buy a house in South Africa, or let's say I wanted to buy a piece of property there. I can pay it in Bitcoin.
It's happening, you guys.
It's happening. It's happening. In fact, the top leader who I know is also a real estate investor. So guess what? He's building a development. So, just think of, a development. I actually want to go see it, but he's building houses and he accepts Bitcoin as a form of payment.
So that gives you an idea of how big this is going to be within the next 10 years. The way
Right.
we do business is going to be completely different and probably sooner. So this is why it was really important for me to do this. This is the first part of a series we're going to do on Bitcoin to educate everybody, to do our part to help you get prepared for the future because it's here. It's coming. So as you were saying, you could hold the Bitcoin. So that means we can buy some tokens and we can keep them in our wallet, which
Correct.
A wallet is not like a bank, but it's like a secure place where you can hold your Bitcoin.
Correct.
So it's like when you put your money in your wallet and you put it in your pocket or your purse, right? But it's digital. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
So
you can hold it there.
You can hold it and it's safe and secure. It's safe and secure. So that's important. So in other words, like here in New York, I have an Exodus wallet. So
what is the name?
It's called Exodus, EXODUS. That's
There's
available.
A lot of different ones,
There's
right?
a lot of different wallets, but that's the one I use because it has a lot of different coins too. So you can, buy different coins. And now the trends are like Ethereum. You have Ethereum. You have this coin called ADA. I am learning about Dogecoin, NFTs, because I partnered with a mentor. So I actually enrolled in this mentorship program called the 100X Crypto Mentorship. So there's people from the US, there's people from England, London, and people from,